Hey guys, it's Cameron with Fantasy Football Fellas, and we are here with our Week 10 buy lows, sell highs. And can you guys believe that we are already 10 weeks into this season? It feels like just yesterday we were talking about A.J. Brown as a buy low candidate, and then he went on this crazy streak, and it's been going forever. We're 10 weeks into the season. I can't believe it. But let's jump right in because you don't want to hear me just babble. You want to hear those buy low and sell high guys. But before we do, make sure to turn on those notifications, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single chance to get better for the rest of this season. All right, our first buy low guy, Mr. David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery is going to be borderline league winner rest of the season, and honestly that's been a trend for him over his last couple years. It seems that we hit that week 10, 11, 12 and all of a sudden he turns it on. Running back 5 last year, I can't remember, it was 2020. I think 2020 he was running back 5 as well last couple weeks of the season. Dan Campbell came back out and said this is still going to be a David Montgomery backfield. And he's going to be the guy. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the change of pace. I think Gibbs is going to see a little more volume after what we've seen the last couple of weeks. But guys, the volume that David Montgomery was getting was ridiculous, averaging over 20 touches a game, averaging over a touchdown a game. I mean, in his four full healthy games, 24 attempts. 16 attempts, 32 attempts, 19 attempts. And in those games, he was running back 16, 21, 2, and 5. He's 6 in red zone touches right now. And he's only played 4 full games. I mean, that is absolutely insane. Monty is going to see rush attempts, and he's going to see touchdowns for the rest of the season, and it's just going to keep happening. He is Jamal Williams, but better from what we saw last year. So yeah, I would be going out and trying to acquire David Montgomery, hoping that manager has seen Jahmyr Gibbs and gone, ooh, Monty might be losing his role. He's not going to lose his role. I think him and Gibbs can both be good in this offense moving forward. But yeah, I'm going to be all in on going to get David Montgomery right now to make a playoff run. A player you need to be selling right now is Mr. Nico Collins. And I hate to say this because we love Nico Collins over here at the Fellas. I mean, we do. He was one of our favorite sleepers coming into the year. He has been great. But I think at this point, he's getting to a spot where now you can actually sell him because people are realizing how good he has been. If you drafted him, if you maybe even picked him up off of waivers, right? He's been great. He's been fantastic for you just compared to where he's drafted. But since week 2, only 1 game with more than 4 receptions. That's not the consistency we were hoping for. Everyone is finally back healthy on that team. Tank Dell, we saw it. Noah Brown. Robert Woods is coming back this next week. Dalton Schultz has been showing out. And unfortunately, CJ Stroud is not going to be able to throw for 457 yards and 5 touchdowns every single week. He might be able to throw for 303. Right? We're seeing how good he is. There's no doubt in that. Nico Collins is still going to have these great weeks because of the downfield weapon that he is, because of how good CJ Stroud's been playing. But since week 2, he's had more weeks outside the top 50 than inside the top 30. He's giving me those Gabe Davis vibes right now, and it's just because he's a big play guy. That's what he's going to thrive on. When he gets those, they're going to be amazing weeks. When he doesn't get those, it's going to be 2 for 50, and you're going to see 7 fantasy points in your lineup. It's just not something that I think you can bank on. And I think people are starting to see him more as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. So I think that there is enough value there. And he's coming off a pretty decent game where you can move him for maybe a running back if you're low at the position. Maybe you package him to go get an elite star. Those would be the ways that I would look to move Nico Collins. A wide receiver you should be looking to buy right now is Marquise Brown. I mean, if you could pull off Nico Collins for Marquise Brown, good for you. That would be fantastic. Why are we buying in on Marquise Brown? Well, currently he's the 9th in targets, 7th in air yards, 2nd in unrealized air yards, 10th in deep targets, and 17th in red zone targets. Oh yeah, and Kyler Murray is coming back. I know. I mean, whether you like Kyler or not, you gotta admit he is an upgrade from Josh Jacobs and Clayton Tune. Even like I've loved Josh Jacobs. I loved watching him this last week for my Vikings. Don't get me wrong. Like he was spectacular. But Kyler Murray is definitely an upgrade. Last year with Kyler, he was the wide receiver 5 in those first 6 games without Diop, averaging 18.5 points per game. Yes, it's going to take Kyler Murray a little bit to get going again. But the Cardinals took their time. The Cardinals aren't going to put out Kyler until he's looking his very best because they want the option of either going Caleb Williams or Drake May or trading Kyler, and they want him to look his best so that teams are interested in taking on Kyler's huge contract. But Marquise Brown's been a top 20 wide receiver already this year with Josh Jacobs and Clayton Tune. He's put up, like I said, 9th in targets, 7th in air yards, 10th in deep targets. He's been good without Kyler. Now he gets that upgrade. This team, they're going to be playing from behind a lot. I like what we're going to really like what we're going to see from Marquise Brown moving forward. Another sell, I've said it way back in week 2, I think, maybe even week 3, but it's Raheem Mostert. You got to sell Mostert at this time. I think this is the last chance you're going to get. But I do want to preface, it depends on the league. It depends who you're going to be able to sell him to, right? If you're going to have to sell him for a low-end wide receiver 3, if people are viewing him as like a fringe top 20 guy, then I'd probably hold on to Mostert. But if you can get that high-end running back 2 value, people are like, oh, did you see they both put up 40 points, him and A-Chain together, and people are still buying into that, sell Mostert now. He's barely playing 50% of snaps over his last couple games without Devon A-Chain in. He's had 1 reception in his last 3 games. If you remember that huge game he had against Denver, he had 7 targets. He had a touchdown through the air. So if he's only seen 1 reception in the last 3 games, Devon A-Chain is going to come back. He's going to continue to lose work through that. He is, his efficiency's been coming down a little bit, right? It's still fantastic. Don't get me wrong. His usage has also been coming down. And Raheem Mostert is still 31 years old and has been injured more than probably any running back in the league over these last couple of years. You just got to keep all this in mind. We talked about it at the beginning of the year. He's on pace to see more touches than he's ever seen. So do we really want to trust a guy who's 31 years old about to see more touches than they have ever seen? Or are they going to really try to dial it back to make sure they have all the running backs healthy come playoff time? And I think that's what we're going to see. So I would be selling Raheem Mostert right now. A running back that you can buy, that maybe I'd go Raheem Mostert to get Jerome Ford plus, is exactly what I'd be doing, right? Jerome Ford, he's finally healthy. Played 64% of snaps last week, 20 carries and 7 targets, right? It wasn't pretty. He was averaging, I think, 2.4 yards per carry. Disgusting. I mean, that's what we've been seeing from like Josh Jacobs this year. AJ Dillon has put up those but 7 targets is exciting. 20 carries, he's the lead back in this offense. He's got a nice schedule moving forward, too. Getting Baltimore, which is but then Pittsburgh, Denver, Rams, Jacksonville, and then Chicago, Houston, New York Jets to finish out the season. Those are matchups, especially come playoff time, that he's going to be able to exploit, that he's going to be able to put up decent numbers come playoff time. And like I said, when he is healthy, except for those 2 games where he had the sprained ankle, he has been the consistent lead back over Kareem Hunt. I think they want to keep him in that role, and they want to continue to establish the run. That's the Browns' identity. With Nick Chubb, without Nick Chubb, they've shown establishing the run. Kevin Stefanski did the same thing when he was in Minnesota. Establish the run the play action off of it, get Watson moving, and Watson's finally looking better, so they're moving the ball down the field. They're going to be in those red zone opportunities. Jerome Ford's going to start scoring touchdowns, right? With Watson's shoulder, he's probably not going to run as much rest of the season. He's probably going to look to favor it a little more. And if he's doing that, he's going to continue to dump it off to Jerome Ford. And we could see more games with 7 targets like we just saw. And finally, our sell. Guys, it pains me to say this one. It's Jordan Addison. I mean, he's been playing fantastic. He's everything we wanted and more. When we said he could be a league winner, he's everything we've wanted and more. But unfortunately, the injury to Kirk, no matter how good Josh Dobbs has looked, is tough. Right? I don't want to compare this offense to the Cardinals offense because it isn't the Cardinals offense. But we look at it. The tight end's very involved. 3rd in tight end targets for Arizona this last year. Wide receiver 20, Marquise Brown. We talked about him earlier. After that, Michael Wilson had a great game, a great 2 games. Rondale Moore had a decent game here and there. but they don't have that consistent third option. Josh Dobbs is a good quarterback from the sense that he can come fill in, but he's not Kirk Cousins. He's not going to be able to support three weapons consistently. Justin Jefferson may not be back this week, especially if you hear the news in the next, day or so that Jefferson might miss this week. I would now sell on Jordan Addison. Hope that people are like, ooh, JJ might not be healthy. We don't know how it's going to look. Josh Dobbs looks great. This is where I would sell on Jordan Addison. Unfortunately, I still think he's going to have fantastic games because he's a fantastic player, but they're going to be very boomer bust. I think it's going to be closer to what Nico Collins looks like than it is what we've been used to seeing from Jordan Addison over these last couple weeks. So, unfortunately, I can't tell you how heartbreaking it is that we're talking about Jordan Addison as a sell, but he definitely is at this point. Well, guys, that wraps up our buy lows, our sell highs from week 10. We got a couple more episodes. I think it's only 2 or 3 left before trade deadlines hit. So make sure you continue to come back, hit those notifications so you know when we're posting. We got our must starts coming up Friday, podcast tomorrow. Then we start it all over again. Waiver wire is getting very important. Make sure you're tuning in to Ty on Mondays. And then we'll have some more exciting pods like we did with the redoing of the fantasy draft in our last one. We'll have some more fun ones on Tuesdays. But with that, guys, I will catch you later, and deuces.